Welcome, one and all, back to the North American Challengers League, presented by Subway. I'm Mazel. I'm joined by Hawk, and we just got done with a shellacking of DSG versus AOE. AOE on the receiving end of that one, but AOE also trying to bounce back for a big comeback here in a very important matchup.
A shellacking, a pounding, an obliteration, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, DSG, that is what I wanted all the way back at the beginning of the season. I mean, that was a clean game number one. And I think for AOE, we said it at the end of the last one. It is back to the drawing board for them if they want to get all the way up into 4th place with a win in this series, because they tried with the more proactive style of composition, but they weren't really able to get anything going.
And it was interesting that we had kind of two team fight comps go at each other, but that early blood, the early mistakes by AOE really sealing their fate in a lot of those situations. Because if you're on even keel, I think that makes a big difference in the way that these compositions fight into each other. But now maybe realizing, I don't know if you can necessarily go with another team fight comp or trying to run it back and just say, you know, we made a couple mistakes early, I guess is the questions for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't feel like draft was really the problem. There were just a couple things that didn't go AOE's way in the early game. I mean, like, Onat died and gave first blood on an invade, right? Happens. That's pretty tough. And then didn't have the flash available for the subsequent 2v2 that AOE lost by a hair. And I think if they win that one, we're telling a completely different story for the game, because instead of being down 3 kills to nothing with a turbo fed karma, I mean, potentially they're up 2 kills to nothing. And the game state just changes so much off of that. And I think it goes to show how much small plays and small mistakes like that can have a ripple effect as the game progresses. But also, I mean, I just feel like for AOE, it really was just execution in those small moments. It was not quite there compared to their opposite number.
I want to go ahead and take a look at the Fearless bans, because we are in a Fearless style draft. Sorry about that through our production really quick. We can bring that back because I want to take a look at some of the big picks that are gone from the board here. I think DSG actually had a pretty strong approach to the way they were coming into this one by picking some of the more niche picks, the Jarvan instead, so there's still a lot of options for parry. Obviously, the Karma is going to be a big hit that's gone from them, but a couple big things taken off the board as well for AOE.
Yeah, and I will say, neither team played too many of the overwhelming power picks on the current patch. Like, I think Volibear and Karma are the ones that we look at as like big first picks. Yeah, you want these. They're super, super good. Nautilus, like another one, every support plays a Nautilus game once a series pretty much. It's a requisite at this point. But everything else was pretty like niche, or it had a very specific purpose, and I think there's still a lot of power up and available. And for example, you know, we saw bans towards, say, Senna Smolder, but Orianna went unpicked and unbanned in the last game, and so things like that could still be options for game 2.
Yeah, a lot of options still on board. We'll actually be able to see the bans that are going to be in the draft once we get to that point too. But now looking at kind of that refocusing on the pressure in this series, DSG, yes, their swing isn't that big in terms of going in the playoffs direction, the seeding there, but it's still an important match in terms of the confidence gained after this one, and that confidence is potentially going to stream forth after that first game too.
Oh yeah, I mean, that is a huge, huge, huge confidence booster. Again, scaling into playoffs, that is the word that you have quoted Tenacity as saying, and that is the kind of game that is going to really, I think, reinforce that belief. And again, you have wins like that as a competitive team, and you'll look at each other and be like, hey guys, why don't we just do that every game? And all of a and maybe you'll start doing it though, right? Like, you do it once and all of a sudden you can do it again.
That's that results-based analysis I love to hear as a play-by-play. Now, the Senna is the ban. We do have a little bit of a switch up here. AOE on the blue side, DSG on the red. I do expect some more focus towards that bottom side. A lot of bans were focused that way in the first game. It'll be here as well. Callista also banned.
Yeah, a lot of Callisto attention in this series. Again, not wanting to give over those prio lanes, and AOE not wanting to give over those scaling lanes. I mean, Manui looked completely comfortable on the scaling of Felios. Went down in the lane a little bit due to the kill that Wixie got, but it was not by any means a disaster, and we saw him clean up that awesome triple kill later on into the game. So, yeah, I think on the side of AOE, I mean, on blue side, what can you first pick that's going to be super strong?
I'm still sad that we haven't seen adaptation from NACL into letting Smolder through and finding picks into it. I know it takes a lot of execution, but I know over in the LPL, we've been seeing a lot more aggressive picks picked into Smolder, the Lucians, as well as the Kaisas. Manui's a great Kaisa. I know we're not getting too deep into that conversation, but it's always interesting. I want to see maybe in playoffs if that comes to bear. The Orianna is banned this time around, and it's by DSG on that red side. That LeBlanc ban towards Young, pretty important, because Young can kind of pick apart the map there, but we got first pick for AOE, and Ashe was left up, so it's that pick.
Yeah, only champion over 90% priority here in the Challengers League. In fact, it has like 98% priority. And not only that, but for the side of AoE, it could go either marksman or support, so it has that flex potential. And it has only been let through in like 10 games. So many teams have not been willing to play against this whatsoever, and I honestly wonder if DSG, either they have a prepared counter, which maybe they do with the Varus Vi, that's a lot of single target lockdown, or they might be thrown off kilter by the fact that Ashe is seen as so strong in this league.
That single target lockdown is going to be there, though, with parry on the Vi. You also have the utility of the Varus with some of the stopping power there with the Chains of Corruption. I want to see maybe a little bit of standoff gameplay coming through for AoE to try to belay a little bit of that engage potential from DSG. I think something like this could be huge, just getting that stopping power, but as well as that distancing power. The Ezreal locked in.
And there's a lot of poke that comes through from this lane, a lot of long-range initiation with the Ashe as well, but the Ezreal's a very safe pick. That's like they pick Vi. Okay, like time to not die. And I can see it. I think Wixie's safety is going to be a top priority. Again, when we're looking towards mid-jungle now for AoE, I think it's about things that can play towards these side lanes, particularly when you have an Ashe Ezreal. They want to have push. They want to try to poke out the lane. So something like an Ahri for Onat that is solid in the early stages of the game and can look to move around the map is a good pick.
Something that can also combine well with Rosethorn, which we saw didn't really work out. And we do get the Young Akali, a classic for him, and definitely try to end out the regular season on a strong note.
I'm so happy to see Young Akali once again. It's his third game of the split. We've not seen Young on too many of his signature champs so far. You know, we haven't seen the Young Aurelia at all.
That's Azir's fault, okay?
Yeah, it is. It's Azir's fault. But, hey, Azir's disabled this week, so Young was like, all right, I had my karma game. Guys, give me the Akali. I love
give me the
this
stick.
pick.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, especially into the Ahri matchup. He's going to have to trade very heavily early, but that combo can be so deadly with him and parry. We already saw it in game number 1 on more supportive style. Still was walking away with so many kills. So the Wukong is the focus on Rosethorn, a tried and true classic for him as well. Still a lot of options open in that regard, but trying to focus down some of the top lane and bot lane support matchups for AoE seems to be the case. The Pike, the first ban in second phase.
Yeah, and Fearless Draft strikes again, by the way. Rosethorn cannot go back to the Volibear, so a lot of those early skirmish style junglers that can try to match the Vi in these stages of the game, going to be a lot easier to pinch out. Wukong's and Xiao. The Lee Sin is another one that's up and available that I think they could potentially go to if you are AoE. It's not one that I typically associate with Rosethorn in particular, though. And then on the other side, DSG, they still need a support. They knew exactly what their lane matchup was going to be, opted to go for the Akali instead, which I think is very hype. Allows them to get pinched out a little bit. I think you want something aggressive to pair alongside this Varus. Try to feast on that Ashe and set up your Akali in these fights.
They're going to ban away the Cassante as the last ban here for AoE, so focusing on tenacity a little bit more there as well. I do think there's still a lot of options. The Rakan is there. A lot of that back and forth engage, the ability to follow up on the Vi engage. Because I think that's something a little bit of desynced, at least until the Rakan was locked in, is the distance between carries and engage. So I think that bridge is definitely going to be there now.
Yep. Nice pick. It's more follow-up engage. It allows the backline access for Young, which is going to be also important because AoE has a very long-range composition. Now they just need some front line to round it out. Renekton is a very safe blind in the top lane that will certainly fill that purpose. And honestly, like a Sejuani here for Rosethorn is playable, kind of. Like it doesn't feel good. Maokai, he's gotten nerfed, but it's still pretty solid, especially point-and-click lockdown against Akali. I think something like that maybe is the direction that they end up going. Put all your eggs in the Rosethorn on that basket. Or not. Okay.
We're going there. Well,
Completely
I guess,
different
yes,
direction.
we are putting all the eggs in the Rosethorn basket, but in the carry side of things here, the Kindred locked in, and I love that for him. Being able to try to take hold of the game there with him and Onat together. Give them some fighting strength in the 2v2 here, but last pick available for DSG, and there's a lot of options on the table, but Tenacity is going to lock in the Volley Bear for the top side.
Top lane Volibear into Zamudo's Renekton. I'm really interested to see how this matchup goes. Renekton has, some tools to fight into the Volibear in the quick trades, right? Because you can get that Empowered Fury, it breaks through the shield, it does a lot, but Volibear has a pretty uninteractive quick trade of Q auto W with the E coming down and you get chunked for a lot. And the healing of the W. Yeah, you scratch him at him with the claws, right? And with the W healing as well in the long trade can also be really difficult to deal with. So it's an interesting pick here for Tenacity. It's, again, more early mid-game focus. And I'm going to be honest with you, Lennon. This Kindred pick for Rosethorn, I mean, we've been talking about consistency, particularly from the mid-jungle for AOE. And this one coming out, I don't really know how it functions here. You have push in bot and mid more than likely early on. Maybe that's the read, but these later fights and skirmishes, very little lockdown CC for AoE.
I also love it because we're literally getting a new shade of AoE, though, in terms of kind of the direction they're going, right? All these champs kind of first of the season, at least for them, except for Onat on the Ahri. So I'm very curious to see how they kind of pull this one apart. But DSG themselves, they have a stalwart composition. Yes, there's a little bit of cooking in the top side for Tenacity with the Volley Bear, but we'll see how these two teams come to blows. AoE on the back foot after that first game. Make sure you're spamming in chat who you think's going to take this dub. DSG or Disguised, and AoE for AoE.
And last game, we had a lot of scaling on both sides, particularly in the bottom lanes. This game, it's going to be very explosive in the mid game. Akali's, Vi's, Ahri's running around the rift.
Oh my.
Oh my. And I think for Rosethorn in particular, I've got eyes on him this game because this is a player that I usually think of as a facilitator jungler on the Kindred, putting on the carry pants, and he get it done.
Uh-oh. Don't fall to a level 1 again. Can't happen like that, Skysplit. Oh, this is the level 1 you wanted, though. Barry, he's going to get flashed on by Rosethorn. That'll be a couple Summoner spells burned on the side of DSG and 1 on AoE.
Yeah, Rosethorn burning the flash. Poom had the heal, though, but this is full control of the bottom side jungle. Okay, hey, Rosethorn, we set all eyes on you. Already going to be able to start these Raptors and do the vertical jungle clear. Now, Zamudo on the Renekton, very vulnerable in the early game to these dives. I mean, even pre-6, Volibear Vi, that's a lot of very easy burst damage to land and potentially go for a big play. However, with Manui and Poom separated on this side of the map, it's going to be very difficult to step up in the lane.
I want to see if Perry takes the onus to go for a vertical style jungle now that they have vision on Rosethorn doing his blue side here. He's going to start up towards this Krugs, actually saving the red buff for last. Rosethorn taking advantage fully of that early level 1 trade.
Rosethorn's being very defensive with the way he's cutting these camps, actually. He's afraid of Perry potentially coming, but Perry's nowhere near. I mean, Rosethorn has all the cards in this early jungle clear because of the health advantage that he was able to get. So, yeah, I would just like to see for AoE a vertical jungle clear. As long as Zamudo can play safe, I think this favors them a lot, just due to the fact that it's going to be really difficult for Manui to get creeps in the early game.
So when we were talking about that kind of mid-game spike for both these two teams, I think proactivity is the name of the game for AoE, at least early on. Find those marks for Rosethorn, get active, because you got to have resources with the double marksman comp. I guess a triple marksman comp. Bot lane focus, though. They try to get Manui for the mark. They do. Breezy kites beautifully, and Rosethorn takes a shot but stays alive. A nice juggling by AoE.
And that's why the vertical jungle, so good for them. AoE, that was beautifully played. Breezy with the barrier to save his own life. Perry, sure, he'll be able to pick some stuff up on the top side. Tenacity was proxying to maybe set up for a dive, but I don't think they're going to be able to find it, and that bot advantage for AoE is massive. And Lennon, you were just saying it. AoE, something that was lacking in the last game that we really wanted was that proactivity. We wanted to see Rosethorn get going. Here early on the Kindred, they have made it happen.
And when Rosethorn is feeling confident, when he's leading from the front, he looks like a completely different jungler. I'm excited to see now with this advantage, they can continue kind of pressing that tempo for themselves. because this composition is a bit of a double-edged sword. You are very squishy, and boy, do you do a lot of damage.
But now Rosethorn in the back of his mind, he's like, oh, I got first blood. I'm doing so well, but oh, I don't get the mark. Was it all worth it? Was the kill worth it to not get my Kindred dollar?
It's the coin flip that you love and you hate at the same time. My gosh. So Perry gets a little bit of that advantage in that regard, but Hawkshot should end up spotting that one out, so Rosethorn not going to waste any time going that way. And we'll see now maybe a wrap back around towards bottom side with a push coming in from Manui and Poom.
Yeah, Rosethorn has that early Dorans as well. We see this a lot on junglers, especially for these early skirmishes can be so strong. DSG trying to crash a wave. Now, Manui did not use any summoner spells in that dive. I think intelligently just took it, said, okay, I am dead. So he does still have a relative amount of safety as the junglers are on a collision course.
I actually just realized that Poom has a decent amount of farm in that lane.
He cleaned up the whole wave that Manui missed.
I mean, it's actually kind of insane. Gonna have a nice advantage lead on his support. Young, he's trading that health bar very heftily towards Onat.
Yeah, Onat doing a nice job. I mean, in the early stages against the Akali, that's when you have to take some control. Rosethorn also held the mark, so we actually still got it, but a fight and bot.
Yo, Breezy just going a ham there. Ends up burning his flash over. Wixie putting in some poke. Rosethorn ends up getting the Gromp there. So Perry actually going to stay. I thought he was going to fully complete the back, but maybe going for the 50-50 smite fight here. It's about 800, and it does go down to Perry, I believe.
Okay, everyone saw it, Onat, and he was on a control ward. That's a little upsetting. Flash burn, but
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It happens. It happens. Yeah, a little bit.
Young, take it. He's got no flash.
He's got no flash.
He's vulnerable.
Thumbs up. O Nation is communicating that everything's okay. They're holding up the flag.
Yeah, and wise of Young to not take it. That would have been pretty psychotic. But yeah, it's gonna be fine. I mean, you know, fat fingers happen all the time, and regardless of the misclick, AOE's pressure bot has been
Young.
great.
He's like, oh, Onat doesn't have flash. I'm gonna play up there. Now he does have to get out with the shroud. Perry's wrapping back around, and AOE playing on the top side might have been an option. Young gets out alive. They do have the level 6 mark though, but Onat has no mana.
All right, Lennon, most 5 head bait imaginable. You walk into lane level 1, flash in place in front of the enemy mid to assert mental dominance, knowing they're going to gank you a lot, and you just have your jungler permaplay for counter ganks.
Love
easy.
that. Love that. Yeah, easy.
I am available for coaching hire. Thank you very much.
Oh my god. Oh goodness gracious. That'll be interesting nonetheless. Speaking of interest though, there was a little bit of hovering around the Telegrubbies, but the first episode of the second game will particularly only be watched by Perry right now.
Yeah. Curly Mo and Larry not having too good of a time as Perry's punch him in the face with the metal gauntlets. I mean,
what are we learning today though with the Telegrubbies? Is it like a lesson on consistency?
Yeah, lesson on consistency. How to always be there for your friends. As AOE, they got 4.
Rosethorn wants time at the TV there. He does end up getting it too. Now Young is in there, but it's already tenacity gone. Young's gonna go down next after the perfect execution, but he gets out alive with his beautiful use of it. And now they pull away 1 for 1 in a little bit of chaos, but also the grubs traded.
Yeah, we're getting a replay of that because DSG, I think they're lucky to go 1 for 1 right here. It's a nice contest from AOE, but Rosethorn only level 5. No Lamb's Respite, a good flash out of the Volibear ultimate, but just doesn't have enough health left up available. Akali with all that mobility, able to get away as well. And 2 for 1 was the grub trade, I believe, in favor of DSG. But 1 for 1 in the kills. It is at least Rosethorn picking up another one. So we said he's the player that we got our eyes on. And you know what? He's delivered on the Kindred so far.
He definitely is. Need to keep that tempo up there. Wixie, beautiful arcane shift to dodge out of that grand entrance. But Dragon up on the other side of the map, and both junglers at least putting a little bit more focus that way. Perry's going to get lucky again and be able to deny another mark, but Rosethorn already on 2.
And so that is the thing. AOE put a lot of pressure on the bottom side of the map, and Wixie is up pretty massively, 20 CS in this bottom lane, but AOE has not been able to stack dragons, which when you're playing a composition that wants to have a lot of push, like what AOE has, not being able to stack these up is something that can hinder your win conditions when we're talking about the later game scaling. DSG, it's actually going to be Perry onto that one. He's going to lose jungle camps for it, but I think you're fine to take that trade on the Vi. I mean, sure, you like having golden experience, but I don't think it matters too much. And DSG, we talked about how explosive these mid-game fights are. Possibility of forcing AOE into those is a good thing.
That's the biggest thing, is you're kind of taking the advantage of, you know, we'll buy time, right? Like, you just give that one over. You're getting some more farm for Rose Thorn. He's been able to at least rematch a little bit of parry and be able to get something there. He also got his 3rd mark on that Chicky spawn because it did come up at the last second. So he's on 3 now, almost on 4, and looking for a dive onto Tenacity, who will spot him out.
He's got ult, parry behind.
He's got a lot of health bar, but I don't know if he's going to have enough. That is a huge shield, but Rose Thorn dodges out. Does use the Lamb's Respite here, though. Able to get that decent healing from him. Cease and desist used by Parry, though, to get the kill. Zamudo tries to get some revenge, but he cannot.
Ooh, he might be in trouble.
Oh, yeah, he's in a lot of trouble now, too. Vault Breaker charged up. Onat burning the charm. Young won't pull the trigger.
Everybody going to walk away, save for the 1-for-1 that transpired in the top lane. Tenacity played it as well as he could, buying time for Parry to show up. But again, I think this favors AoE. They're able to deny the creep wave on the top side. Tenacity, no teleport to get back towards it. And it's a kill for Zamudo, who is going to be that big frontliner for AoE in this game. And things just continuing to ramp up. Look, everything's an investment here in League of Legends, Bizel, okay? AoE, they're investing in the jungle matchup. DSG, they're shorting the objective market. We'll have to see which one ends up panning out in the Summoner's Rift economy.
I'm not really good at economics, so
Neither am I.
I'll just follow the lead of these two teams and figure out where I need to buy, where I need to sell, I guess. I do love the way that AoE have used some of the vision around the map with the hawk shots from Breezy. They have had consistent vision of parry a lot of this game.
They really have. I mean, AoE has been doing a great job of tracking it, and I think this is the level of proactivity that we wanted to see from them last game. And although it's only netted a 1,000 gold advantage so far as we move into the mid game, it does feel like their overall level of map control has been superior. So as we move towards these fights, I think they do have good odds. As Onat, he has no ulti.
He really does not want to let that control ward die. But there's grubs spawning now. It would be 5 for DSG if they get all 3. So AoE do not want to let that go. They're moving up Breezy.
Boom is here first, however, and I do favor DSG in some of these early skirmishes on the top side. Tenacity has his summoner spell as well as his ultimate backup and available, as well as the perfect execution for Young.
Oh, Zamudo. He might just get turned into boots here. He is just going to turn it around, though. He's got so much healing. Young is in there, too, but he's going to get burned by Zamudo, who has a double kill now. Tenacity can't kill Rose Thorn, and all of a sudden, AoE trounced DSG.
And AoE's going to get enough of the grubs to deny the Twitch chatters as well. What a fight from AoE as this gold lead has opened up. And Lennon, you thought Zamudo might be running to the wolves a little bit as he gets locked down, but able to pop the Dominus, and a nice Ash arrow from Breezy one-shots parry. Young takes so much damage on the approach as well, and with Rose Thorn kiting it out, living on a sliver of HP. That is the kind of fight that might just be able to send us to a decider.
It's so insane. Zamudo, the holdover, as well as trying to make something happen here for AoE. And I think the fact of the matter is, when you talk to a lot of people and a lot of at least players in the league, Zamudo is always somebody who, when you bring him up, like, oh, he flew under the radar, but he's so good. And there's a lot of little moments like that where he's cooking to the top lane. You can find out that he actually has a lot of carry potential. Now with the Eclipse build, Renekton, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in this game.
And here's what we're talking about with AoE. Last game, Zamudo, Rose Thorn, Onat, wasn't really their game. Here in game 2, they're popping off. Zamudo's 3-0-2. Rose Thorn, similar, has a couple of deaths, but I would say good deaths at that. And, I mean, Zamudo going for another Eclipse, by the way. Yeah, like, this team is so good when they're on, and they've been able to put a lot of pressure on Disguised. Question just remains, can they do this game in and game out? And I think similarly for Disguised as well.
Oh, Tenacity. that's your health bar there, bud. Is now Boom and Parry focusing up here, maybe trying to bait in Zamudo a little bit. Does have a pretty hefty shutdown. He's a big old croc, and they're not going to be able to get that one down. Dragon is spawning on the other side, as well as Rift Herald in the Baron pit. We'll see which teams want to go, at least Perry and DSG focusing topside.
Yeah, and honestly, I wonder where they will go because dragon stacking has been exceptionally slow this game. We drew attention to that earlier. So AOE, they don't really have to play towards that side right now if they want to continue snowballing the game and opening up the map. However, at some point, you would like to start taking those, and a lot of their control does lie on the bottom side of the map. You can see a few blue wards. They've also rotated Wixie into the middle lane, and it does seem that the dragon will be the focus.
Perry just trying to sneak away some of his jungle beforehand, but AOE don't want to let him do that. They spotted him out with the hawk shot. He's still playing pretty far up, though. 3 members were focusing. Now 4th. He stayed. He knew they were there, and he'll go down anyways. Rose Thorn gets another mark, and that means dragon for AOE.
I feel like that's one of those moments, like, we've all been there, where it's like, you get hit, and you're like, oh, yeah, they can engage on me from a mile away. I kind of forgot about that.
As now Zamudo getting heftily traded by the 1v1 for tenacity. Poob's just sitting there like, oh, you good, bro? You good? And it turns out he is. As now Zamudo might be getting dove. We'll spot out Poom.
Has the Dominus and the flash up and available, but this is 3 members of DSG. I think he's dead.
Yeah, he's going to pop the Dominus. He's going to try to get the wave as best as possible, but down he goes, and a big old shutdown to Young. AOE get a first turret on the other side of the map and mid lane as well.
Yeah, traded for 2. I think AOE's going to be fine with this. They pick up a lot of objectives. Obviously, 700 gold shutdowns to Akali's. You try not to give those ones over. I think Wixie might be saying something in team chat about that, but otherwise, the overall trade still pretty good. Plus 5,000 is the gold advantage, and I don't think Disguise has the numbers to continue onto this Herald.
That's the problem. Is the numbers are starting to be a little fleeting here. DSG, and it's a wonderful comeback from AO. We got to remember, they literally got slapped upside the head in game number 1, and this was a series that is so important for them in a swing for the playoffs in positioning. A win in this series gets them 4th place. A loss gets them 8th. One of the biggest swings I feel like I've seen in recent history off of just one series, and they're able to keep their heads in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, assuming FlyQuest 2-0 is their matchup against Mirage later today, they will be the 1st seed, and if you're AOE, I would really like to avoid that matchup. Let's remember, this team actually took games off of the other 2 top seeds, being Supernova and Maryville. They have shown that they can be competitive with anyone in this league. FlyQuest, they kind of got shellacked a little bit. So, yeah, I would love to dodge that one if I'm on AOE here, and just in general have more favorable seeding.
A little jockeying for positioning on this top side of the map, and really, Poom has just been looking for teammates this entire game. They're actually going to look for Wixie in the mid lane. Rosethorn had started up the Rift Herald, but AOE realized they're going for their ADC. Perry gets the cease and desist, but it's onto an Ezreal who can easily arcane shift out of it. Now the turnaround from AOE could be there. The flashes and at least the cleanse burned.
A little bit of desperation perhaps from DSG. They feel like they have to make a play, but now with no flash, no ultimate on Perry, as well as quite chunked out, this is just going to be a 3 Rift Herald over. Objective bounty denied. AOE can really start to open up the map. This should be top lane tier 1, honestly, for them. I don't even think they'll need to use the Herald. They have Wixie already on the bottom wave. They just rotate their members up to the top side. Perry will not be able to respond. And here they go.
Young's going to be a little bit of trouble. They got Poom coming. That's a little bit of support, too. The tower is just going to go down, though. But AOE, in terms of the way they look forward in this lead, about 6,000 gold up over that now after that turret falls, too. It's finding picks a lot of the time. It's utilizing a lot of the damage profile they have with the triple marksman composition.
They do have a triple marksman composition, yeah. They've got a lot of range and a lot of ways to do it. And we'll say, the guy on your screen right now, Breezy, he's been on point with these Ashe arrows. Throwing them out pretty much on cooldown is what you want to do when you have an Ashe support. Look, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott, Ben Hawkins, like that's what you got to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for DSG, maybe looking for some of those shots as well. I think Perry's been trying to find the lockdown.
He's trying, yeah.
They get a lot of that single target, but they just don't have the damage to follow it up.
For Perry, those shots are a little bit more committal. Like, it's less of a slap shot and more like him trying to hold the puck in his hands and dive into the goal. It's a bit harder to do.
Hey, I appreciate the uniqueness of that, though. You know, maybe that's just the way it goes.
Crazy new hockey meta.
Onat, though. Oh, Young wants him. He's going to go under tower, not going to follow up the shuriken toss, but Perry's coming over now too. He has the ulti, but he's not going to find the angle. Turret does end up going down as well, as that tier 2 in the bottom side is gone for DSG.
And yet again, the goalkeeper body blocking the puck dive.
No cleanse this time. That's a long stun. He literally just has to stand there and watch while his health bar is taken from him.
I love being stunned for 4 seconds on
Oh.
Summer's Rift. Okay, Wixie's. Hey,
Oh
thumbs
my
up.
God.
He's good. He's good. And yet again, Slapshot, much more effective than face diving into the goal. AOE putting it on full display right there with another nice pick. I think with Wixie being too low, they did not feel confident to pull the Baron, but that at least should give them some good priority setup and a nice base before this third dragon.
They do find Rosethorn out here, though, and they might just collapse on him. Cease and desist was available for Perry. Rosethorn, he is just going down, and that's a shutdown to Perry, of all people. And Dragon is on its way.
And that's huge. They finally found one. They found the Lone Ranger and were able to take him down. That's a massive shutdown getting collected as well. This will pick up a dragon, buying Disguise more time in this game. Rosethorn, he was just out on the map a little too long while the rest of the team was taking a base.
He really wanted that mark.
Hey,
you know, sometimes...
Look, if you've ever played Kindred, you know.
I do.
You know.
You fiend for the marks.
Right,
you got to find them.
Yeah. You've heard of Lee Syndrome, right? So it's the same thing, but it's Kindred.
Kindred.
Kindrome. Is that the word?
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue, but I like it, you know.
Yeah.
It just sounds like incredible.
Yeah, you've heard there's Syndrome, and then now there's Kindrome.
All right, I'm here for it. Now we just need to make either a copy pasta or a graphic comparatively. Perry, though, trying to clear the wave, just gets half his health bar taken off from him.
Yeah. And he's going to be fine. AOE, they are at least continuing to push in the waves. I think Rosethorn also wisely saved the Lamb's Respite. So AOE, now that their junglers respawn, they are in a position where they can take a fight should they want to. Full control over this Baron area as well. DSG will be forced to face check into a potential Ash Arrow, which would not feel really good. And Lennon, I've got to say, you know, we keep making all these movie references. You know, it's the Oscars today. I feel like it's very...
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the Oscars is today. So, first of all, good on you for watching LCS Challengers instead of the Oscars, because we all know this is more important. And... yeah, we can keep up the movie references, you know? Like,
not gonna lie, I didn't even know the Oscars were today. So
yeah, well, you know.
That's pretty nice. Hey, you gotta keep up with the times. Thank you for the info.
I'm sure Oppenheimer is gonna win everything anyway. Like,
I see. I still never saw Oppenheimer, unfortunately.
Okay,
I always wanted to do the Barbie Oppenheimer Day thing, and I just never did it.
I saw Barbie. So this is gonna make me sound really bad. I was a cinema major in college. I just graduated, right? And I still have not seen Oppenheimer either. So I'm a bad cinema guy for that. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, you know, the way things go, we kind of just threw each other under the bus there. But, you know, AOE, they're looking to try to get out from under that bus. The DSG are throwing at him here. That Lamb's Respite comes in clutch. And DSG now with the pullback. The perfect execution gets one, but it doesn't matter. A double kill from Wixie, and that triple marks composition coming alive as Rosethorn. He's stepping up to the plate and hitting a home run.
Yeah, Rosethorn's gonna get the Oscar for Best Director, I think, for that one, as he dictates this fight beautifully. DSG, they think they found a pick. They're gonna go for the full commit, but we said it. Rosethorn saved the Lamb's Respite. He prevents Breezy from getting one shot, and look at him dishing out the damage in the middle of this fight while the Lamb's Respite is down, chunking out the health bar. Zamudo there to clean it up with Onat on the backside, and a beautiful play by AOE. Lennon, I got a feeling we're going to game 3.
Oh, yeah, and it wouldn't have any other way if you're an AOE fan. You gotta go the distance. You gotta try for that 4th place spot in the playoffs. And now with an over 10,000 lead for them at 22.5 minutes, it's about closing out cleanly and not letting the chaos get the best of you.
Yeah, and DSG, they were able to do it last game, and I think AOE is well on their way. I mean, this is just a massive, massive, massive lead. You can see the gold on your screens. Everybody so far ahead of their opposite number.
3,000 gold on Perry.
Yeah.
Insane.
I mean, it's been a great game. I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical of the Kindred pick when it came through from Rosethorn on 5, and it's worked.
Uh-oh. Well, we've seen this story once before. Lamb's Respite is not up, so Rosethorn just goes down to another shutdown now. Tenacity's getting chunked, though, and still with a couple heads of the Hydra left for AOE. They're fighting on to Young now, who's going to go golden. They've already picked up Parry, too, and Zamuto's now found more. The Angry Croc has come, and O-Nation will find a double kill, too.
Okay, well, that's my first LCS Challengers Caster Curse, Lennon, as Rosethorn did get found, but fortunately, the rest of AOE was there for the claps. Oh, Nat, what a beautiful fight on the backside. Wixie was able to stay alive as well, and okay, maybe they're not able to end. I thought they could, but they don't do
They
quite
split the
enough
difference.
Damage. Yeah.
They're going to be able to take down a couple inhibs, though, for sure. They also have Wixie taking a tier 2 tower on the top side of the map as well. Backs are going to start coming through, so they won't be able to get the inhibs. They'll at least get all the towers, 3 of them. And now over 14,000, they'll get the reset off.
I think this might be the largest gold lead I've ever seen at 24 minutes. Like, when have you ever seen this? 14,000 at 24, and the team hasn't ended? This is, like, what? This is crazy.
It does get pretty big. I think also we're not even at a place where you can say, oh, DSG, just buy some time. You know, 14,000 doesn't mean anything when you get late.
No, I don't think so.
You're also on another dragon. It'd be Infernal Dragon. I don't think AOE need to stack as necessarily, but they will take everything they can get.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, you're hoping AOE just somehow throws a fastball middle. The fastball being the game. 10 kindred marks as well.
Yeah.
Thank you, production, for highlighting. Rosethorn is just so far ahead. I mean, yeah, this game's probably over, and at this point, let's start talking about Game 3, because as AOE pushes into the base, we were able to see the proactivity this time. We were not in game number 1, and I just wonder, can they pull it off yet again, or is DSG going to stifle them?
Been 2 very, very one-sided games so far in the series, and coming to the end of it here, hopefully we get a more back-and-forth game number 3 itself. A lot of picks are going to be taken off the table with Fearless Draft as well, as 10 picks will not be available for both sides. We do have that Kindred-spawned dragon up now that AOE will pull back for.
You know, Lennon, you could say we've had 2 Oppenheimer games so far, where one team has just gotten nuked off Summoner's Rift.
Oh my god. Even though we haven't seen the movie, we can still make the reference because we know what it does.
Yeah, it's about the bomb, and the bomb, in this case, being AOE, as, yeah, I mean, it's been one-sided. No, but, I mean, again, AOE, they take another dragon. They're probably, I guess, just waiting for another Baron, maybe, or another team fight to clean up this game. And I do want to talk a little bit more as well about Rosethorn, because this was a player coming into the split. You know, we've had a lot of questions about him during it, but he came off a rough one on TFT last year alongside Onat, but some people thought that the mid jungle might be a bright spot, and they are trying to prove it in games like this with AOE.
Yeah, always been a big fan of Rosethorn since he came into Golden Guardians Academy all so long ago, but he's been making a bit of a up and down nature of his past recently. A lot of those big brain moments being led to not being able to consistently close out games. Starting to see a little bit more consistency in this series now, as game 2 has been whole-handedly Rosethorn at the helm. Now Barry,
this is
for a
deep.
play with Young on a deep flank. There is a vision ward there, so they will spot this out.
This is what we call the Dunzo engage. Young, he's going to try to find it to save it all, or they just go next.
Yo, they find Onat. They're going in here. Boom, trying to get everything he
Rosethorn.
can. They already find Rosethorn. He went down without pop the Lamb's Respite. And now Young, he's trying to mechanically outplay this
Wait a
one.
minute.
They have found a couple here, and they get alive. Oh my god, the re-engage from AOE. It's big. True shot
Wixie.
barrage back. Parry missing the
Wixie.
ball breaker, and now Wixie's popping off. Step to the chat, and you're going to lose your head as AOE TP in for the end.
Oh, DSG, they thought they could pull it back. Oh, Daddy's not even going to go for the base. He wants the stat padding kills. And for a moment, it looked so good. And then you remember that AOE, they're 14,000 gold in the lead, and they will send us to a game 3.
Game 3 on the horizon, and AOE with a breath of life in this series. A big one for them to finish out the season. And we get to go the distance here for our first series of the day. I'm very excited to see what Game 3 has in store, especially with how one-sided both games have been so far. We're going to step away for a break, and we'll be back for that Game 3.
Introducing the new footlong sidekicks at Subway. Try the warm and delicious footlong cookie, footlong pretzel, or footlong churro.
Before this guy won this, he actually won this. And now these guys, they're trying to do the same.
He's looking for the killer instinct. He's going
Basu!
in. He finds 2. He finds 3.
Basu, you are utterly ridiculous. This guy is also trying to do what that guy did. And he didn't win one of those, but he did win this.
Welcome to the new era. A toast to our champions, disguised.
This guy played one split of LCS and then made semis at Worlds.
It's been a long journey, but I'm happy to be here now.
He's always been really good, but he finally made the comeback. Oh, and he did it with this guy. This guy won Academy, and he had some dreams.
I want to be like the best NA mid laner to go to Worlds, right?
Dokla, however, very, very low. Reinforced by the Senna ultimate. And the Pop Blossom is so awesome.
This kid? Yeah, this kid. He actually didn't win an Academy, but a lot of people thought he was good, and boy, were they right. This guy made Worlds his very first year as a player. It took him a while to get back. He even played with this kid. But then, they did all of this together.
Nobody thought they'd win LCS. Nobody thought they'd beat G2. It's time to change your mind.
You know all of these names, but do you know the names of who's next? The future of the LCS starts right after the LCS. Welcome to Challengers League.
Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown.